guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Holly Lovegrove. If you are new here, please make sure and hit that subscribe button before you leave. I am a certified pro makeup artist and YouTuber, and yeah, that's pretty much what the world knows about me, or what you guys, anyone who has been subscribed or follows my Instagram or Facebook knows about me. I am a mother, I am a wife, but I feel like there is a lot more about me that you guys don't know, and I am just now at a place comfortable enough to kind of talk with you guys and tell you some of those things. So that is what today's video is going to be about. I will be talking about some things that may be hard for some people to hear, or even to see if I do decide to share some pictures along the way. So if that is you, I am giving you the warning now. Feel free to click away or watch another video, because I have plenty of other videos for everyone to enjoy. So with that being said, in 2007, I married the love of my life. I was 21, he was 19. So we were babies. Do I recommend getting married at such a young age? I do not. Because the divorce rate is so high. When you are that young, when you haven't experienced life, when you aren't even, my husband wasn't even legal to drink alcohol. So we were babies. Did we love each other? Absolutely. But there was no way to kind of be able to prepare what was coming in the future, or what would come in the future. When we got married, I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter. That is something that I would never change. Was it hard being a younger parent? Absolutely. It's still hard being a parent now. She will be 11 this year. So it is, marriage and children are the biggest, hardest jobs that I feel like any person can do, but they also are the most rewarding jobs. So we got married in June 16th, and then in November, our daughter was born. So we didn't have a lot of time together married before our daughter came, because of our own doings. I don't blame anyone other than myself for that. But I wouldn't change that now as an adult for anything. 2009, trying to get my dates right here, I gave birth to my first son, who at the end of this month will turn 9. Time is going so fast. And then in December of 2011, my husband had a back surgery because some issues going on with the discs in his back, and he had a back surgery the day before Christmas Eve, which was so weird. And then I was set to have a C-section for our third and last child, January 5th of 2012. So my husband literally had a back surgery less than 2 weeks before I had a C-section to have a baby. So in that time frame and realm, my husband became very dependent and addicted to opiates. I had never witnessed anything like that in my life. I had never seen anyone struggle with addiction like that in my life. My dad always drank a lot when I was growing up, but someone who is addicted to alcohol is totally different than someone who is addicted to opiates. So it took me a very long time to catch on as to what was going on, what was happening. But his story is not my story to tell. I can only tell my aspect of it and what happened. But he became very addicted. His back doctor was writing him prescriptions of 90 opiate pills every 2 days. And I blame a big part of that on the doctor. I cannot blame all of it on the doctor because my husband did not speak up or say anything, but he did have a doctor there that was willing to feed his addiction. So we tried several times to get him some outpatient treatment, but unfortunately where we lived and where we are from, if you are not willing to admit that you want to kill yourself, then not a lot of people want to do much. So it didn't work. And then in 2012 of August, we legally and officially were divorced. I was in one place, he was in another. He just struggled with addiction so bad that we were terrible for one another. It was an awful time all the way around for both of us. So in that time frame, I was on my way driving out of town and got hit head on by a careless driver. Not only was I hit head on, he was going so fast, he hit my car head on, and then it kind of turned my car and he hit the entire driver's side of my car. My car then spun and would have flipped, but it got lodged on a snowbank that was on the side of the road. So I was cut out of my car. I was lifelined to Indianapolis. That was about an hour from where I was at the time. I was lifelined to Indianapolis. I ended up having a rod placed from my wrist to my elbow because my arm was shattered in 3 places. I broke all of the ribs on my left side. I broke my left hip, which is now a fake hip. I have a rod down my left femur. I broke my kneecap and I broke my left foot. On the right side of my body, everything from my knee down was broken. I also had an open fracture. They took me out of my car. I looked down and I saw my foot just hanging on like this by a little tiny piece of skin. If you look at my right ankle now, you can see it just where it has been completely stitched back together. And I did end up with the laceration to my spleen. I spent several months in the hospital before I was ever able to go home. I underwent surgeries for the first 2.5 years after my car wreck. And then the very last surgery that I had, it was supposed to be an in and out surgery, an outpatient surgery. I went in and ended up waking up 3 days later because my body did not want to wake up. I had had so much anesthesia over the last couple of years that my body was just not wanting to wake up from it. So I have not had a surgery since then. It has been 4 years this last February since my car wreck. That time, when my car wreck happened is always kind of like a touchy issue to me just because it's still rough. I do struggle to do some things. I do have some strength back in my arm, but not what it was before my car wreck. Sometimes my left hip will give me trouble. My left knee has been acting crazy lately, and my right ankle always hurts. It's pretty much always swelled, always inflamed. So I spent 2 years in a wheelchair, not able to walk, not able to do much, obviously not able to drive myself anywhere or do much of anything for myself. I completely depended on help from my mom, my sister, my best friend. And in this time, Lee and I were still divorced. We are remarried now. Thank God. We have been remarried for 3 years since all of that has happened. But yeah, it was a rough time. It's been a rough time. I gained a lot of weight during my car wreck. From being immobilized for 2 years, you start to go through things, you start to experience things, and I got to the point where I started suffering severely with what I thought was just anxiousness and nervousness, but was later diagnosed by 3 doctors and a psychiatrist that I was in fact diagnosed with PTSD. At the time of being diagnosed with PTSD, I thought that it was something that only people from the service or people that had been deployed would experience. But I later found out that anyone who goes through a traumatic time in their life can experience that. Chemical imbalance in my brain was insane. I just felt a way that I had never felt before. I actually had talked to one of the doctors at the hospital that I was at and told them that I was having some major issues that I hadn't ever felt before. And it just kind of got pushed off, being told like, it's because you're trapped here in the hospital, because you can't drive, because you can't do much for yourself. But it ended up being so much worse than that. So I finally got to a point where I felt like I couldn't breathe. I would get into the passenger side of a car. I was still in a wheelchair, but I would get into the passenger side of a car and the car would have to be running. And in order for me to shut my door to get in the car, because I felt like if not, I were going to be trapped there and I was going to be stuck in this car. It got to the point where sometimes we would drive, my husband and I were driving down the road. I made him pull over after we turned off the highway because I was going to jump out of the car. That's how badly I needed to be out of the car. For a very long time after the wreck, I would not drive myself. I could not drive myself. I just could not face being behind the wheel of a car. Anything that involved being in the car, and even still to this day, there are some times that I feel like I need to get out of the car because I cannot take the stress and pressure of being in there. Sometimes, actually when it got to the point where I was driving myself, there would be times I would be driving and I would cars would be passing in the other lane and I would flinch like this, thinking that they were going to hit me. PTSD, anxiety, and depression are some of the worst things that I think a person can go through because it's not something that anyone can physically see. Everyone saw the injuries that I had sustained to my body, but no one understood what was going on the inside of me. So I talked to the doctor and I got put on medication, and it would help for a while and then they would change it and then they would change it again. And it either got to the point where I would feel like a zombie or it just didn't work at all. And I tried several doctors and I tried therapy, and my therapist did help probably more than any doctor or medication did at first. I don't see her anymore. I just see my family doctor, and every 2 years I have to check in with my surgeon. But I did have a lot of trials in medication. It did take a long time to be able to get the medication right. It did take a long time to find one that worked for me. I did have bouts of serious depression in the midst of trying to get the medicines to work. I did have serious hatred really towards the guy that hit me, towards the guy that caused this for me. And then when I thought my medicines were right and I started losing weight last year in February, I was like, okay, I gotta get this weight off. I had started a new medication. I felt great. I was taking care of my grandmother, who, if you know me at all, has always been like a huge influence in my life. And in August of last year, I lost her to dementia, which immediately just sent me on this spiral of depression and anxiety again. I was one of her primary caregivers, so I watched her pass. I watched her slowly pass, which in return, my doctor said was could have caused some more of the PTSD. So I started just eating whatever I wanted. I stopped working out and I just laid around nonstop. I would cry, I would get upset. I just felt so angry and hurt and like the medicines were not working. So 3 months ago, fast forward from August until 3 months ago, I decided that I needed to get back on track. I had realized, so last year from February until August, I lost 92 pounds. I was going to the gym every day. I was restricting my calories. I feel like the PTSD symptoms were subsiding for the most part. I still would have issues with it every once in a while, but nothing like it was when I had first started out. So I started eating healthy again and tracking my calories, and our family would go start on family walks. And I realized that when I finally went to the doctor that I had gained 45 pounds back of the 92 that I had lost the previous year. My doctor did start me on some new anxiety medication, and for the last 3 months, I have felt better than I have in probably since my car wreck 4.5 years ago. And it's a struggle. Some days are still a struggle. The last week, I've kind of felt a little down and blue and moody, which happens from time to time when you deal with mental disorder. But I am thankful enough to have friends who stick by me, who help me through the depressing times, who understand when I have bouts and episodes of the PTSD. And it just, I guess if I could tell you guys anything, it would be if you are struggling with PTSD or depression or anxiety, I have all three, then get help. There is no reason to sit and feel miserable. There is no reason to end your life. Life is so precious. I cannot say that I have never had thoughts of suicide. I have, especially after my car wreck. But there is help. You can get help. Things can change, things can be better. I'm not saying that every day is gonna be sunshine and rainbows. Even with my medication, I know that that is not the case. I know that life is not like that, and I don't want life to be like that. I want to experience things. I want to have the feelings of being sad. When I'm happy, I want to feel happy. When I'm sad, I want to cry it out and be sad, but I don't want to have to dwell on it for a month or 2 or 3. I don't want to lay in bed for week after week. I want to experience life. I want to experience life with my kids and my husband and my friends. So I guess what I'm saying is that with the couple of celebrity deaths that there have been over the last 5 or 6 months, you do not have to be that. You do not have to be a suicidal statistic. There is help, and there is no embarrassment for dealing with the things that you have. Like I tell my husband all of the time, there is no shame in being a recovering addict. There is only shame in the fact that an addict won't get help or refuses to admit that there is a problem. It is the same thing with depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Get help. If you feel that way, get help. Talk to someone. I have linked down below in the description box the number for the suicide hotline. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor, but I am here to always talk to anyone who feels like they have no one, to talk to anyone who feels like there's no way out of this trap of depression or anxiety or PTSD. There is help, there is hope. I've changed a lot of things in my life, especially over the last 3 months. I want to do a part 2 video to talk about the things that I've changed, to talk about the way that I'm eating now, the exercising that I'm doing, the medication that I'm taking, to tell you guys other things that I have relied on to help me other than just the medication from my doctor. I know this video has been different. I know I have kind of jumped around all over the place, but I guess I just want you guys to understand that you're not alone, that people do face these things and people do overcome them, because I have overcome this, and I know without a doubt, if I can do it, then you guys can do it. Please never ever feel alone. That is it for this video, guys. That's it for this video, guys. I hope that you have learned something today. I hope that if you have a friend who suffers with any of these things, or you have a parent who suffers with these things, that you reach out to them, check on them. The friend that you don't hear from for a week, the friend that says that, yeah, they're fine, but you can tell that it's not sincere, check on them, be with them, because they need you. I'm here for you guys whenever you need someone to talk to. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.